to order the May 12th Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting. Will you please start with the roll call?
All right. Aaron Angel.
Here.
Scott Conlon.
Here.
Thomas Davis. Not here. Sam Libby.
Here.
Hannah Mulroy, sorry.
It's okay. Here.
Nicholas Novello.
That's me. Here.
Thank you. Brandy Bradshaw Reyes.
Here.
And Council Liaison Sean McCoy.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Let's go into the agenda, approval of the agenda. So this is actually fresh for me because we didn't get a chance to review the agenda previously with staff. But are there any amendments you want to make from staff? I just want to check with you, David, before we can go on our bed.
For the current agenda,
Current agenda.
so do we want to throw that in the beginning if we want to add? We I think you all got our email asking about some alternative
The
dates.
dates.
I would like to know where you like to kind of work that in.
That makes sense.
I just like to make sure we have a chance to talk about the reason for the change and which dates work best for this group.
I think we should throw it into new business. Throw it on
Okay.
top of new business.
Sounds good.
Throw it on top. Okay, so then with that said, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Scott, second.
I'll second that.
Aaron, all those in favor? Yeah, that's unanimous. Okay, great. Let's move on to previous month's minutes. Any comments or corrections you want to make on the previous month's minutes? And there were some good notes on this one. If not, they look good. Okay, cool. Do we want to make a motion to?
I move that we approve last month's minutes as they were written.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, right on it. Okay, all those in favor?
I wasn't here, so I shouldn't vote, right?
No, you can read.
I,
Oh. That's
I
right,
read the
you can't
minutes,
read
but
it
should I
back
vote if it's
out.
not here?
Like,
Yeah.
you can find a typo.
Yeah.
You can still vote? Okay.
You can also abstain if you'd like to.
Okay, I didn't know I haven't missed one
Yeah.
yet, so I didn't know what the rules were. Okay,
Or what-
so I'll
yeah.
vote for it then. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
All right, thank
That's
you.
unanimous as well. Okay, great. Let's move on to public invited to be heard. Do we have public invited to be heard today?
We have no problem.
No one invited to be heard today. Okay. So then next is old business, and there is no old business. So we'll move on to new business, and item 1 for the amended agenda is talking about the change of time for the next meeting.
Correct. This group has been very patient in the process we've gone through with the land exchange, and you've been made aware that we have taken stuff to council executive session, and then we really laid this on the table in the legal terms that James had given us. We laid it on the table until we get further direction from council. What we're looking at and planning right now is that council will be hearing from staff and giving direction on the June 3rd meeting. At that point, that doesn't give us a whole lot of time if council makes any changes to get packets out and get information to this group by the 9th, because we have to get it out like that day after almost. So it just doesn't give you much time, or staff, we have to make changes in time to have a meeting on the 9th. At that meeting, I think, and I'm gonna look at Veronica a little bit, I think we only have 5 people though that are able to attend the 9th meeting. If you push it out to the 16th, there's only 4 people that can make it, which something as big as this and has much public attention doesn't feel like it's really getting the attention it deserves. So you have forcing it too fast, which doesn't have the best optics, having 4 people, which probably isn't the best, and the next one is pushing out to the 23rd, which is the latest we can go, because we then have to try to get your recommendations, your input, your ideas back to council for the July
You can't
8th.
hold, you can't,
Right.
can't table anything.
Yeah, so July 8th would be is when we'll be trying to get back to council. So what we're looking for now is if we just do, who can make it for a July 23rd?
June
I'm sorry,
23rd.
June 23rd, so we get to July 8th.
I can't, I'm gonna be out of town for CML.
Okay. Aaron, can you make any, are you able to make any of them now? I mean, that's all right.
The one that I could make was the one that possibly remote if there's cell service someplace. But I could see what I can do with this one, with the 23rd. But right now it's in the office.
Okay,
I think I can make any of the dates.
okay, that's 3.
And
We're still at 4.
I'm a tough one. I'm on the
I
edge,
know.
given impending
I
baby
know.
time. Yep. Obviously, this is a very important discussion. We've been
Yeah.
all waiting for this moment. So exciting, and I would not like to miss it. And I understand the timing is as it is, and the show must go on. It shouldn't wait for me. If we have enough other members of the board available.
Okay.
I'm looking and I may be able to get a sub. I'm looking at everybody else's availability
Who-
that night.
Who are we missing tonight?
Thomas.
Thomas.
We already know
I
about
really
Thomas.
want to be there. I've been thinking about it the whole time, so I want to.
Veronica, did you hear from Thomas at
I
all?
did not. I haven't heard from her. I just checked a couple minutes ago too.
I think Nick has an excuse.
Yeah.
I'll chair any of the June
Okay.
we have enough folks, we've talked about it.
All right.
I just-
Should try to join
I was
virtually.
gonna say that might be the other thing too, if you
Yeah.
want to try to do that. I just say,
I have a
again,
comment just for Nick too. If you want to write something, I'd be happy to read something for you too. When I thought I was going to miss it, I was going to write something to read my perspective as a board member.
I would be a voter on that.
You would be able to vote, but you could just read your commentary as the chair of the BRAB.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to read for you if you can't read remotely.
Okay.
I think that's probably the way to go. Then the vote comes out as it is, and hopefully Thomas can make it. And so, what's the number that you have right now that can make it?
yeah,
For
Four
definites.
four definites, Aaron's,
4.4.
yeah.
Yeah,
The math.
I'm working. Like I'm gonna.
But if you're remote and half listening, that's 5.
Right,
fine.
right. Especially if we get into the meeting a bit earlier.
Right.
On. Yeah.
Which is at least the
Same
same
as,
as the other days.
right.
Yeah, I mean that's actually better for me than most of
Then
them.
the 9th. Okay, so right now, again, I'm going to look to this board a little bit too, because it really is an important piece. I think it's important for staff, but also for you, is the optics from the public too. That are we rushing you, or are we having a smaller group to kind of respond to this? So the 9th, we have 5, but it just feels really tight for you all to get the information you need on this. But that's an option for the group. I don't know, Nick, if you want to try to see what the group wants. We want to do the 9th with short time for 5 people, or if we want to take the 23rd for 5 people with a little more time. And Thomas hasn't responded at all.
Is the time for the board, or is it time for staff to prepare?
It could be
for
both.
the
It'd be
board?
kind of taking, if council gives any directive, we'd have to get things ready quickly, then,
So that's really my
Right.
main question, because we want to make an informed decision based
Right.
off of all the facts, and so not that you would cobble together notes, not well, but I think this is such an important issue. I think it makes sense to have staff take the time you need to prepare the information the best you can, right?
appreciate that.
So
We'll do whatever you all need to.
for me personally, the 9th actually makes more sense because I'm more likely to be around unless I get called out midway through. That's a possibility. Who knows? But this is not about me and my individual best case. So it seems like either the 16th or the 23rd could work. They're the same 4 people, although the 23rd has a chance of maybe getting in more people.
I'm at 90% now, as I'm like
Oh.
looking and seeing who can.
You got the little video game scorecard card.
We haven't seen
Yeah.
the video. We're gonna get married on this.
No, it does feel like
She's
that.
powered-
No,
she's powered
I'm like
up.
going through all my email and checking and seeing people's availabilities and like if somebody can cover. It's hard to be a teacher, just gotta tell you. And like
I think someone else that.
yeah, and like
This
I
is the
teach
worst
all
month.
summer.
But June, if you're doing what you do with environmental stuff, that's when the kids are coming to the camps and the activities and that. So
In the evenings.
yeah, just a different phase.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm at 80.
Okay.
It looks pretty decent that for me to be able to come.
And just know that you are on the record, so we're going to hold you accountable.
At 80%, yeah.
Okay, so it seems like the group is leaning that the 23rd is the best option of not the best options.
think so.
But yes. So if that's the case, then we need to have a vote on
If you, that's
changing
good,
it.
yes.
So does anyone want to?
Sure. I'll move to reschedule the June crab meeting to June 23rd at the same time.
Great.
I'll second.
And all those in favor? Okay, oh, that's great. Got everybody.
I had a question.
Me.
The location of the previous ones, I had to call in. Was that here in a different room, or what was the big room you guys were in?
It's the same, it's the same.
Oh, it's here.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah, it's in this
You know,
building
with the
next door.
change, I would recommend some of those stakeholders that always show up, always have a comment, given a heads up.
We will make some personal phone
Because
calls.
I think that you don't want to have them going, I didn't catch that, especially we know certain ones that would
Yes.
be upset with.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up.
We'll do it in the other room right there.
Yeah, that'd probably be the best thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Well, thank
great.
you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I feel good about this. And no pressure, but we will be looking for the most detailed information from staff. And we all want to make an informed decision on this because we know that this is a really important issue for the community. Okay. Let's keep moving on. We're going to talk about the Recreation Emergency Action Plan. Is this Steve?
Chris, you want to
Oh,
come over
Chris.
here?
Yeah, hi, Chris.
Sure. I'll run the.
All right,
I'll
thank
switch with you.
okay. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to talk. My name's Chris. I'm the area supervisor, Chris Crone. I'm the area supervisor of the rec center. And just wanted to spend a few minutes today talking about our emergency action plan training. It's a training that we do annually over at the recreation center. It's a mandatory training for all recreation staff. We typically do it on a Sunday evening, off hours, just to limits our impact on operations and allows for the most people to attend that training. It's a 2-hour training, and with this particular training, it's a hands-on interaction. And it allows us to work with our staff, new, old, novice, experience doesn't really matter. It gives everyone an opportunity to see what our expectations are when dealing with an emergency scenario. Go ahead. So the coordination for this training was done with myself and also with our aquatics coordinators, Molly Lady and Dalton Casey. I'm going to be honest, Dalton and Molly did most of the work. I just kind of went along for the ride. But they're very experienced, especially in emergency response, because they train the lifeguards, and they're the ones who have that first-hand experience on what to do in proper protocols. We also utilized our full-time staff in different capacities. Everyone had served a role as either a actor in a scenario or a scenario leader, and we tried to reinforce the importance of what this scenario would look like by using different props and try to make it as lifelike as possible, what you would typically see. So we designated a number for each employee as they arrived, so that they were assigned a number between 1 and 6, and when they got that number, we split the people out, staff members, to different stations. We did a preliminary discussion with the group on what they would experience and the kind of the flow of the training. And then really what we worked on mostly was for them to understand what these scenarios would look like when they got there. And so they would rotate between the 6 different stations. We allowed 10 minutes per station, 5 minutes for transition time, and then answering any questions or questions that they may have had. As soon as they were done with all 6 stations, we regrouped and then had a final scenario that we worked together as a group.
Next one.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Thank you. So these were the different scenarios that we did. Again, we tried to structure them on situations that they may encounter, whether they're working at the recreation center or at a pool or out at a ball field, or really doesn't matter. These are life skills that could be applicable to any type of emergency situation. First off, we did a choking child in the babysitting room. Then we had a fight between patrons in the lobby. We did reporting, so how to fill out an incident report. What type of information is important? How do you fill it out correctly? And the details associated with that. We're fortunate at the rec center we have a sauna. That also means we have heat-related issues there. So what would you do if you encountered that? A head injury that happens to occur in the gym. And then a cardiac incident, which unfortunately has happened at the rec center. And fortunately our staff's been trained well. So those were the different situations that we had. From the photo there, you can tell that the staff really got into it. They really enjoyed it. And they kind of caught us off guard because Phil Henry, our aquatic supervisor, actually had a weapon on him that we weren't expecting as a prop. So yeah, it kind of threw everyone for a loop. Method acting. Did a really good job with it. So it was fun. It became real. And we heard from a number of the staff how they felt their heart rate increase and how do we handle this? And staff did a really good job of explaining how to de-escalate situations, when to move to that next step of contacting police or authorities, and knowing whether you can handle it yourself or you need to seek help. This is an example of our scenario in the gym where it was a head injury. You can see the group there kind of gathered around. It's about 20, 25 people, maybe more or less. And it was very informal, and it allowed them the ability to interact with different work groups that they don't normally encounter. And so if you're we'll say a field supervisor out at the ball field, you may have a different type of question than someone who works as a front desk receptionist. So it allowed them the opportunity to see it from a different perspective. So again, with the emphasis, what we wanted to focus on are these main aspects of emergency response. Just the first aid CPR, how to deal with conflict, the attention to detail and communication, who you're communicating with, being aware of your environment around you, and noticing those little details that will be important in an emergency situation. And then probably the most two important things that we want them to take out of this training was staying calm and demonstrating leadership. And at the end, I felt like a lot of our staff really did benefit from this training, strictly from that perspective alone. Our final group scenario was an evacuation of the building. And with this situation, we gathered everyone in the gym. We determined who would be our area leaders for different areas. So we got a babysitter for the babysitting room, a climbing wall attendant for the climbing wall, fitness instructor, and so on. And the aquatic staff had their pool manager, and we had a building supervisor. And then we evacuated the building. And the rest of the part-time staff and people there that were for the training just spread around the building. They were acting as patrons. And within the time of the evacuation till everyone getting to the safe point, which was the museum, we had the building cleared in 4 minutes. So granted, a lot of those people knew what to do. And in fact, the babysitters were really good. They used the little rope that you use for the kids, and they carried the adults on the rope to the museum. So they did a terrific job with the scenario.
I can imagine it'd be harder when people are lap swimming and they're wet and under, or they're changing, or they're in the middle of their shower. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or something.
Yeah, because nobody's faking that in this
Right.
scenario. Like,
Right.
they're just doing nudie pants for their.
Right, and I should add that some of our building supervisors, when clearing the building, they came across some people that were in a cabana. We weren't expecting them to be there, and we had to get them out. And so it was good. They took steps I wasn't even expecting them to take. So
Well,
it was
addendum to that, a year ago with Nick. And
oh yeah,
so a year ago when we did it, we had a missing child was the building-wide one. And our missing child was Nick, our aquatic maintenance person at the time, and we couldn't find it.
He
We
did a
never
great
did-
job of hiding.
We never did find it. He was in a locker. So,
Oh,
so that, open up all lockers. I mean, that's something we learned that night.
That was fun.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, and Ben mentioned, we try to mix it up a little bit from year to year on what we do in the training. One of our best trainings that we had was done collaboratively with RISC and the PD department, in which police came in and did an act of harmor. And that was a very real scenario in which they fired blanks with a gun in the building. And I know that some of our staff were kind of caught off guard by that. In fact, we had the minor employees make sure that they had parental consent before we even allowed them.
And
to
anybody that
participate.
wanted to opt out could
Yeah,
do
they
that.
certainly could opt out.
That being said, I think we had well over 100
Yeah.
to that one.
Yeah. We've done group CPR first aid training all together collectively in a gym. We've done lockdown, lockout situations where we prevented people from coming into the facility, and then also a tornado, what you would do in that type of hazardous weather conditions.
Where do you go?
Locker rooms generally.
No
Interior,
windows.
yeah, interior buildings.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the rec center's got a lot of good space for that.
And the one time that we seriously did that was, I want to say it was 2012. It was the Windsor
Mhm.
tornado, and actually wasn't there that day, but we did have trouble with a couple people on machines and making them leave. It was an interesting dynamic, which we can't force people, but there's some comments for staff on that. That if you get somebody like that, tell them, we'll understand, you'll probably be suspended from use when we open up again, because we can't leave you out here. And if we have to call the police for you, they'll be happy about coming here for you during a tornado warning. Usually that'll get them. Yeah, just adding to a couple of those, we've had armed robbery at the front desk, and this was one of them many years ago. And Todd from Boulder came, husband to Terry Calvin, who works for us, and he came and did that for us, and it was very intense. He was awesome, and it gets people to feel that, what it's going to feel like, so they can anticipate it. And the same idea with the active harmer. And, I know it affected everybody there, and feedback was overwhelmingly positive to it. So.
Well, I would think it's so much closer to a school situation and the rec center with the active harmor aspect.
And what we found were that the kids, the younger employees, were
Yeah.
more well versed than
You do
a
it
lot
all
of
the
the
time.
adults are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You do it
because they
all
do
the
it
time.
so consistently.
Yeah, we've been doing this, I think about 13 years, and we've missed a couple of years with COVID and circumstance. We try to get it done once a year.
We
First
aim
started doing it.
aim for the spring, try to get the employees geared up for summer so that they're prepared and ready to
And this one, over 150. And this was
191 was
Oh.
the actual number of
Wow.
And so that's amazing when the amount of staff we have, and that was probably our one problem, is that we had too many people per group, so we try to address that, because we expect around 125 is kind of the number, so, but it went very well again, although this was the first one I missed.
The scenarios, we try to make them as realistic as possible, stuff that they would typically encounter on a day-to-day basis. And you never know how you'll handle an emergency until you're faced with it. So we want to give them that warm-up when the consequences aren't as great, when they get a feel for it.
How did you decide who the responder was going to, so I looked at that group, like 25 people. How did you decide who's going to be the responder? Because not everybody can respond to an injury. How did you decide who's going to do crowd control?
The scenario leaders kind of took care of that themselves. Okay. Yeah, it was mostly full-time staff. It was mostly a situation where the staff observed and then participated as they needed to.
And
each
sometimes
scenario
they will,
was-
some
yeah.
won't. You pick folks. I mean, if you're babysitting, you love to have a babysitter maybe and involve them. And some groups you will, and some you won't. So. Any other questions?
Please.
Are there particular concerns in some facilities over the rec center that there's a different scenario that you have to deal with?
Well, we've talked about doing this like at the Memorial Building. It's just the rec center's big enough to handle that many people, but we've talked about doing smaller versions. We haven't. These take a lot of time to plan. It's a lot of staff time, and it's money we have to pay to everybody to be there. And it's a budget conscious thing also. But that being said, we certainly would like to see it at other ones because each facility is a little different. I mean, the feel of it and the idea is the same, but the particulars of the building are definitely different.
So I can see it at Roosevelt, like a mental health crisis type of situation happening because there's quite, my daughter worked the front desk there and that was often the scenario that was going on.
Not as much now, but absolutely still, for sure, that building. Other questions?
Do you
Or
find
comments?
this by like, do you figure out your scenarios by looking at your incident reports from the past year?
Sometimes we do. Like we had a number of these type of issues. A lot of the incident reports, the injuries are relatively minor, and they don't really require the attention to an emergency response that we would typically go over. Again, we're trying to teach fundamentals as opposed to specifics. Things that would be applicable in a wide range of situations.
So we kind of have a catalog at this point.
Yeah.
So
Try to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that
Do
each
different
year is a little
concepts.
bit different than the year before. We want to give some variety to it.
Yeah, give all the credit in the world to aquatic staff because they really drive the bus on this one as far as the activity itself. Any other comments?
It's a great question. That was a good one that I was going to ask too. Thank you for asking that one. One last question, for me at least, and it's kind of broad, which is based off of this past training and reflecting on it and the last 13 years, I think, what recommendations do you have for future trainings?
Great question, and that's one that I met with Molly Dalton afterwards, and one of the things that I wish we would have done is maybe cued our staff up a little bit better. I think we took it for granted that our full-time staff would know exactly what to do based on the scenario, and by and large they did, but they were adaptable, but I don't think we prepared them appropriately to be really beneficial in terms of leading these scenarios and dealing with the different potential situations that might offshoot of that. For example, when Phil had pulled out his weapon, no one was expecting that, and it threw him for a loop. And which is great because no scenario is going to be the same, no emergency is the same. It made them think a little bit too, but they weren't prepared for that. They weren't expecting that, and I think on our end as facilitators of this training, we should make sure that our staff's better prepared in advance of that.
So it's a balance, right? So on one hand, you want them to be prepared for the unexpected. On the other hand, there should be some guidelines. What do you think that would look like? Is it like a pre-training, or is it a written document, or
it would probably be like a briefing for like 20 minutes.
briefing
beforehand.
Here are the scenarios we'll cover today.
Or how about time saver? Just send out an email, and these are the topics that are going to be on this. Your full-time staff, and
we did do
you're gonna
that.
be
That's what we did with the scenario. So they had an outline of what to deal with. But again, Phil pulled them for a loop. They weren't expecting that.
I think that's really good.
It was.
I mean,
really,
I
it
think
was
that's
really
really good. You never, it's
Yeah.
never, like, it doesn't matter how much you practice that, it's never exactly what you think. So I think that's good.
Totally.
Great. Thank you so much, guys.
Any other questions?
How'd you guys do that?
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
All right. Looks like Ben's right ahead of me. So we're going to cue it up. Next up on the agenda is 4th of July.
I actually didn't necessarily expect either one of these guys to come. So it's pretty That's how
I think you did the presentation.
I know just about as much as you do.
Okay, updates for the big one. Okay, so last year, we had 9,600 event attendees, which was counted clicks at the gate, which was way more than we were expecting. It was packed. And this year, Boulder and Loveland have canceled their shows, so neither one of them are doing fireworks on the 4th. And Erie and Berthoud both do their shows on the 3rd, so we're expecting an even bigger turnout for us this year, probably about double. And then this year's event is obviously going to be on the 4th. It's 5 to 11 in the same area, but we've expanded the footprint because we're expecting twice.
Why have they canceled? Do we know?
Loveland, the food tax thing, the budget is what happened there. Boulder, I think it's just
Yeah, Boulders didn't do theirs
change.
last
We're choosing
year
not
either.
to.
Yeah,
And a lot of places are going different directions with growing shows.
yeah, fireworks are very expensive.
Yeah.
So this year, because we're expecting about double the amount of people, we've doubled the footprint. We've added a second stage and that length of First Avenue. In addition, we're also including a total of 4 businesses inside the footprint this year. Last year was only 1, it was Wibby. This year it's going to be Wibby, 300 Sons, Valor Peak Distillery, and the Local Drive, which are both at that 110 building. And we're including the parking lot and a plot of open land that's directly in front of that 110 building. To do there's going to be like a marketplace with a few vendors, inflatables, the axe throwing trailer is going to come. So it's going to be a good time. But an additional stage, and then Wibby is also going to activate on their stage. So plenty of music, lots of food, almost triple the amount of food vendors.
Yeah, is Summit Taco included in that footprint then, or?
So Summit Taco doesn't actually touch the footprint, so they're just
Okay.
going to come and be a vendor, which Edward was totally fine with, because his place is so small anyway
Right.
that it's not a huge loss for him, but he'll
So
still.
he'll be based up there, so he can just cook food and bring it right to
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
spot, and should be able to serve a lot of people, which
Yeah.
is, last year the number one complaint was certainly
Not enough
food
food.
lines.
Yeah, not enough food. So,
Can
Yeah,
people
no-
bring their own food?
yeah, people can bring their own food.
And bus in?
So we're not doing shuttles because the 4th of July is kind of a unique event where the fireworks go off and then everybody kind of mass exits the area. So shuttles don't really work logistically because you have to wait 5, 7, 9 shuttles to be able to get back to where your car is. But we are trying to partner with Ride Longmont to have a couple drop-off locations, and then pointing out public parking lots and parking lots that have allowed us to use their space. So,
Trying to get agreements from some so that we can
Mhm,
actually
yeah.
say
like
that.
Cheese Importers and
They'll all
Harvest
fill up on
Junction.
their own, whether we
Yeah.
do anything or
Yeah.
not. But didn't have a lot of complaints about parking last year. Now, this year, we'll see, but there isn't much. That's just the truth of this area.
Yeah.
Are the closures of the roads at the black line except for on First there, I guess?
So the black line is actually the outline of the liquor
Okay.
footprint. The road closure will be, you can kind of see it at First and Main there. First will be closed between Main and Martin. Emery will be closed basically just kind of south of that townhome parking lot, all the way down to First Avenue. And then Second will be closed from Kimbark up to where it turns into Collier, just south of the R Center parking lot. We're going to use the R Center parking lot for ADA parking.
Great. I'll go to the next one. Any questions on this? This is vastly different. We've gone through massive changes just
Yeah.
in the last 4 weeks.
Mhm.
How do you deal with the railroad?
Oh,
So-
boy.
I mean, like,
We're gonna have,
I mean, you're probably
yeah.
gonna go through
Yeah.
and back up
Yeah.
and forward
Yeah.
85 times. And
Yeah.
Well, last year they said, oh, we
Quiet
won't send it,
hours.
it'll be quiet hours.
Yeah, and then they
sent
sent
through-
five
to
trains, 6
right?
trains, yeah. Yeah,
It was great.
That's
so,
a joke.
yeah,
So this started last year, because we talked about going down there last year, and with liquor licensing, we couldn't cross the railroad, because they have their own laws, right? They can do whatever they want, and it doesn't apply to anybody. Well, after a couple of meetings this year, and Harold specifically, trying to say, well, why not? which I appreciate when I have the right people to say that, because when I say it, it's not quite as impactful. And we talked to Jim Angstad and a couple others, and since we have an easement and we have control, they felt like we do control that area. And what we're going to throw at that is 2 police officers right there the whole time. And Jim Angstad just said, well, don't try to stop a train. Yeah. I don't think we will. And obviously we had people coming and going. In a way, it will be safer because we'll have 2 cops monitoring that as opposed to nobody last year. But there are, it's interesting laws, and we're glad to be able to work that in. And of course, liquor laws are crazy in Colorado, how complicated. How the businesses shrink their business for the day down to 1 square foot. So
Yeah, this is
they can be
essentially an open
enclosed.
container,
Yeah.
common consumption zone.
Which is a topic
A
for
loophole.
future open common consumption area without
The fencing.
borders.
Mhm.
Yeah. Not for this year.
Okay, so a few permitting changes from last year. Last year we partnered with Wibby to pull the festival liquor permit. This year we found out that the museum actually holds the correct kind of license for us to be able to pull that permit and use our own insurance, so we control that piece of it.
Nice.
So we decided to go in that direction to give us a
And
little
Harold
bit.
agreed to that as
Yeah.
the signee
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
license.
He is the holder of that license, so he has to sign off on it. But it just gives us a little bit more control versus what we had last year, which was Whitney was in control of that piece of it. So, and then all of the alcohol vendors provide a COI to us to be part of the festival too. So this year I think we have a dozen alcohol vendors, which compared to last year's 3, service is going to be a lot quicker. So we have, I'm working with Jill Liss, who is our comms person, to do all of the marketing. She's herding some cats for me, so she's great. We have stuff scheduled to really start pushing out marketing 6 weeks early. And then we have plenty of community partners who are interested in being part of the event, including all of the liquor vendors and a few other organizations like Branded Beat is going to help us with some marketing stuff. And then Kiwanis is paying for the fireworks as they did last year. They have a fundraising goal of $60,000. At our last meeting last Monday, they had $24,500 committed. And all of the businesses that are partnering with us have committed to either donating $1 per beer that they sell that day, or just paying for a sponsorship for Kiwanis. So, and then obviously, like I said, we're expecting about double the amount of people. So we're scaling up and trying to plan for that capacity as far as like security, PD, fire, and what all of that is going to look like. So.
Yeah, but last year we had some Kiwanis help at gates. This year we're moving to just security.
Yes.
Allowing them to do more of their handshaking and such that they need to do. So we're happy about that. And police presence was awesome last year. We will have more this year. Having Zach Artist be our boss for the time being temporarily is, I think, giving us a little bit of leg up on this one, which is, we'll take it for sure. We'll take it. Next one, Sam.
Yep. Sweet. And just some cool stuff we're expecting this year. Like I said, 3 stages. Wibby has booked a Jimmy Buffett cover band called Jamie Buffett that is apparently very in demand, so very on brand for us. And then I'm calling the stage that we're putting just outside the 110 building on Emory, I'm calling that the Liberty stage. And we will have Unauthorized Absence. They're a local band playing on that stage for a little while. And then the Firecracker stage, which is on First and Emory, will have like an a cappella band. And then a jam band that was actually recommended by Edward from Selling Tacos. So, and then inflatable attractions. Last year we had the inflatable Midway. We'll bring that back. Some bouncy houses, the kids love those. And then a 14 vendor marketplace where people will sell things that they make by hand. And then 12 alcohol vendors, 18 food and non-alcoholic beverage vendors. So hopefully that's a lot more food than we had last year, a lot more alcohol than we had last year. So hopefully service goes a lot faster.
And you go to one location, get your bracelet or whatever.
Yeah, so we'll have one ID check tent at each of the 4 gates. That's staffed by a volunteer and a security guard, in addition to a security guard at the gate. So all 3 of those people will be trained and can check IDs at that.
And that's where you get, you pay for your, when people ask, that's where they pay to get tickets or whatever.
No.
It's with a festival, the individual vendors, and we did this last year, they charge. So they do that themselves, we're not involved. What's the other one that we've been doing? It's the permit type.
Oh, so this is a festival permit, and then the permit there where we have to sell tokens is called an SEP permit, special event permit.
And that one, you have to be affiliated with a nonprofit. That's where you take the tokens, tickets, like you do Red River. This is a lot easier, a lot more conducive for businesses to come to us also, which is great.
Are you still looking for more? Or accepting more?
We can't accept more because we've already submitted our application for the permit, and everybody who's serving has to be on that application. So we're good with a dozen for this year, but next year we'll definitely be looking for more, I assume. So
That's the last one.
that's the last one.
Any questions or comments or ideas? We're rapidly changing on this one.
And you have cooling stations around.
We don't have cooling stations, but we will have water stations. There's plenty of, because we're partnering with the businesses, there's also a lot of covered space, a lot of indoor space that's accessible, so.
In our experience last year was the perfect day for weather. It was the
Yeah,
high.
we got really lucky last year.
That won't be this year. We got to expect at least 90. The advantage is after 5 o'clock, the temperature will start going down. Really, it was 6 to 6:30 when we really started to see people come in and get set up. There was some shade area that you could find if you were there at that time. And we're hoping for the best and planning with water, and
I think we're making the best.
it's
of
not
the
optimal. I mean, it's
spot
just the
that we're
truth.
in.
The spot is not optimal, but we just don't have an optimal spot if we're going to do fireworks from this location.
So people will, with electric bikes and regular bikes, come down, where would they store put those if they didn't want to haul them around? Because that's a lot of space that's being taken up by
Yeah,
the bike.
we've tossed around the idea of a bike valet. We're still exploring that. I think that wouldn't be a bad idea because we have the auto shop that's on the corner of 3rd and Emory has allowed us to use their parking lot, so that would be a great spot to put a bike valet. And then people just kind of chain their bikes to the fence. So
The
we
fence
have
actually works really well.
plenty of
So the
fencing.
whole thing, that's metal fencing. I mean, that's what I've done. I think, before.
I'm just thinking of what people might do so that we don't, that if people ask.
We try and make that public, that if you're bringing your bike, you can, hopefully we'll have maybe a single option, but one of the options always going to be attach it to the orange fence that you see as you come in anywhere is okay.
Doesn't sound like you're gonna need to do much marketing.
Yeah,
I know,
Maybe
yeah.
marketing, like I have like almost wouldn't, you know what I mean? I would
Really
do just
yeah.
information sharing.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, because people are gonna wonder why they can't use their downtown and why there's boomy things or whatever, but
We actually had that exact conversation with Jill today about what we're gonna communicate, and it's mostly where to park and what to bring and what not to bring. So, this
Bring your
markets
dog.
itself.
It's for dogs.
Yeah, don't bring your dogs to a fireworks show.
So we're passing that information along.
Mhm.
Good, because some folks just don't get it.
Was there going to be, I'm sorry, I missed this, a drone show again?
There is gonna be a drone show, the Innovation Center is gonna do that. It's sponsored by Site, so.
Cool.
I've seen some of the animations, they're really cool. Those kids are impressive.
Yeah, it should be better than last year, and last year
That was my favorite part
Last year's
of last
mind
year,
blowing,
yeah.
Everyone's so surprised.
Yeah.
They're so excited to do
Yeah.
this again. It's really cool. Questions?
Do we pay them?
Yeah, it's not a whole lot. I think
Yeah,
a
it's-
few $1,000s.
Yeah, and Next Light pays
Next
for
life
it.
they sponsor
yeah.
so they pay for that, which is great.
just honestly, I'd love to see that we'd work to actually paying them a wage that they earn, like I believe.
Well, or even the club, to buy more, the class to buy more equipment.
Yeah, I mean, just working towards it someday when there's money.
This
Floating around,
is
but-
still an unfunded event this year, by the way,
Yeah,
so.
but I really,
it's coming
yeah,
out of
it's just,
contingency funds.
you know, don't wanna be ageist and not pay people because they aren't
Mhm.
of voting age.
Yes, I believe they set the price that Next Light pays, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Are there any concerns of the Rangers in Dickens Park with that bigger crowd?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer, yes, but they did learn quite a bit last year about where they did have trouble with people coming in, because generally it wasn't, went pretty well. But I think they have their own plan. David, I don't know if you guys have talked about that
Yeah,
at all.
we've been talking about it too, and that's exactly it. They learned from last year, they're looking to get up some harder gates potentially in some of those areas where they were trying to float back and forth to make sure they're talking to people. I went over there pretty early too, and as they talked to people as it's time to leave, there was really not a whole lot of pushback, so it went pretty smoothly. It's just, again, trying to people move through, trying to keep those hardened areas a little bit better, but I think we have a good plan.
Anything else?
Thanks for all the work on it. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that's it.
This is her show, and it's a big one. It's
Nice
a big
not
one.
having, 1 month's notice or whatever it was like.
Yeah, last year was rough.
Well, this one though, it's like
Yeah, lots of
everything has
cooks in the
been.
kitchen this year, but
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be good.
when you get a whole bunch of businesses involved, they certainly,
Yeah,
they know how it needs to be.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, they're very enthusiastic. Yeah.
Thank you so
Great.
much.
Great work. Okay. So we are on to the next item on the agenda, which we have not talked about previously, but it is a field trip discussion. And I don't know, if staff, you had like a particular way that you wanted to handle this discussion or recommended to handle it, but we're just talking dates or activities or brainstorming at this stage.
I think I'm hoping brainstorming, we've heard a lot from this
Okay.
group I'd like to do, and I think
Yeah.
we are to the point we'd like to, the year's gone by pretty quick and start
Sure.
thinking about it.
Snowshoeing, let's do
That's-
snowshoeing.
I was just gonna say,
Let's
we
do
should-
this in June.
We're gonna go high up there.
Yeah, probably out of Longmont city limits, I'm just guessing.
Okay, so I'm going to start making a list here. So one candidate is to wait for the winter and snowshoe.
It could be, I was joking,
One-
but
one-
yes,
one-
I mean, snowshoeing still.
No bad ideas. Yeah.
But still, that reservoir, that's a good place for us to visit, especially in the peaceful, snowy time. It's the prettiest time out there.
Okay. Any other suggestions from the group of what they would like to potentially see or do for the field trip for this year?
There's so many.
Go ahead.
I was thinking other regional parks or rec centers of interest, like non-Longmont,
Oh.
that we learn from what's new in Berthoud or in Boulder or Lafayette. Because I think we all hear a lot about the parks and things that are being developed here, so it's less interesting to go see something we've seen a bunch of photos of already. But I know there's some really cool facilities out there in the region that we would like to have a version of at some point.
I like it. Okay.
I can't even remember my great
Ah,
idea.
God.
That was so good.
Ah,
That was a great
uh,
idea. That was a good one. That was a good one.
The one that I have in mind is, and I don't have a specific example of this, is but in past years we focused on parks, open space. We have not focused so much on recreation side of things. So I don't know exactly what that would look like, but maybe touring recreation facilities of some sort. Maybe that's looking at I don't know, challenges we have at certain facilities, whether it's
This is gonna be like a 18-hour trip, right? No, we could totally set that up at our, that got me thinking, maybe if we did something like that, maybe we could do one place like Berthoud, which is new, kind of if you want to see something that's new, it's small, but it's a really neat rec center, and then maybe look at some of ours, a couple of our places, and you can get the behind the scenes tour.
Would we have trouble accessing Bertha's rec center?
What's that?
Would we have trouble accessing?
No.
Passport.
Yeah.
You have to use
I
your
figured.
real ID.
I
Oh,
got,
it's his real ID.
Yeah.
Clever.
I got friends.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, cool. All right.
I like that.
Go bouncer. All
I
right.
like the idea of a little more of a recreation focus, so whether
Okay.
that's facilities or outdoor recreation spaces that might be up for refurbishing in the coming years, budget items we might see, because we have been very, or not, I'm new to this, but parks and open space
Okay.
oriented in general, I feel like a little less that oriented.
Well, I liked when we did that around the open space area, but I was looking at the Union Reservoir and see some of the trail connections and some of that might be a different area. Because we have been doing a lot out there, and for some it's been a while.
I've lost track of what phase we're on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that idea too.
I like the idea of us doing instead of listening in certain ways, because we are people of action. So the couple ideas I had were we could volunteer with Post, and we could volunteer with Ashley and Taylor, and we could do a volunteer project and just see how that goes. Or if we wanted a recreation focus, because that's more, if we wanted recreation focus, what if we went out to a unified ball game, and we all went out to cheer for the unified ball game, had some topics of discussion. It would be kind of like a retreat kind of thing where we're getting to know each other better, but we're also backing an unbacked team. You know what I mean? Like, that might be, we could do, maybe we, look at different ball fields, but then we end up, if there's a unified ball game or
Monday
something
nights.
like that.
Do that on Monday nights
Yeah,
at Clark Centennial.
that
would
would,
be
And if
good.
you've never watched it, it's about the best thing you can
Good to
watch.
see how they facilitate themselves around the field and everything.
or we could volunteer with it if we could, if we're able to help. But I think sometimes just people knowing that other people care what they do, that's really important to, especially young people, to see people that are cheering them on. So that would be super fun. I like popcorn. I mean, are there hot dogs?
No, but we can
We can do something.
But maybe that's what we do. Like, maybe that's our service, is like making and handing out free hot dogs. You don't have to have a, for free. Yeah. I don't know.
I like the idea of like ending on something
Yeah.
like that.
That would be good.
Now, we have also some areas that we talked about in an earlier meeting about the idea of there's some recreational deserts in Longmont, and just maybe kind of get an on the ground view of what that looks like, because that is something that is important too. It's along the lines of the need is there, and but I like the idea of the unified.
I like that too. We can stay after and help clean up the park.
Yeah.
I like the idea of service.
Yeah.
Whether it's something, there's a piece of which is like performative, right? If we just like make a service thing for us to go do service.
Uh-huh.
And if it's easy to do, I think the idea of us putting some time somewhere, whatever it might be, would be great.
Beautiful. Yeah. We're still brainstorming. We're still putting ideas out there.
We could do unified snowshoeing.
Yeah.
Cheer us all up.
There it is.
That's okay. I get plenty of opportunities to snowshoe. I just want to spread the love.
Sure.
Cross country ski.
I can't afford equipment.
Brandy, anything you want to throw out there? I'm putting you on the spot.
You are putting it.
I like all these ideas, so.
We're gonna go through them again, but we're brainstorming adding new ideas that we haven't talked about yet. What do you think? What are we missing?
I really like Sean's idea of going to some areas that, are deserts, the open space and parks and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, I love the idea of being in the community and like showing up, and so I like this.
I keep thinking that when we have a meth house that goes down, the cost that we see at the city level in the for recovery of meth houses almost would be is cost prohibitive for somebody to rebuild. So what about when something like that occurs, it's sometimes not even the owner that's doing it, it's a tenant maybe. Now the house it's in bad shape. Can we somehow figure out how to let them off the line there and purchase the property for a park and give them some sort of tax benefit? Because the cost would be, in the hundreds of thousands. We're finding that to be quite expensive when we have that situation with our own housing authority, and extremely time consuming to get it completed. And so one thought is that if the house is that fried, level it and use that. Now in places, when I was on council the first time, like Cleveland and others, when the economic downturn came about, instead of policing areas, they were literally having a firm come in and take out all the copper piping and stuff like that, then leveling it so they didn't have to, and they were going back to turning areas of the community back into open space and parks and stuff like that, just because they couldn't manage to protect them fire-wise, safety-wise, and police-wise. And then these houses would get squatted in, and then all kinds of things would happen, and they'd have a big fire or some other thing like that. So they had these great big areas that they were thinking, could we do urban farming in and other stuff like that, when they were trying to figure out what they could do, because they literally had the rapid transit system, but they had to get rid of the houses they had been were closed on, and then were not being taken care of, and then all these criminal elements came in and were using them, and some of them were getting stripped of their copper and stuff like that. So they weren't going to be, they're going to probably have to be torn down anyhow. So I think of a little bit of that as a way of trying to figure out how to solve the park desert element. Because if that happens, and it's happening, then it's something to look at, and it could be a pocket park here, pocket park there. So it's not going to be a big ball field, but it would be something that somebody can run around in a little bit.
So, help me understand what that would look like for this board.
Well, if it was, we talked about that area in 15th and behind that Safeway and the FAA Center as being a spot where we didn't have any parks. There was a real need, but then when houses do happen to in those neighborhoods, if they were to ever go into a situation and they were, let's say, a landlord-tenant situation, the landlord would have maybe an option of getting a tax credit if we took over the mortgage and then demolished the house and that sort of thing. But we would pay them, a certain value. I don't know what that is. That'd have to be discussed in a much more technical way. But that sort of situation. But that would be something to consider if those situations occur.
So for the field trip, would you say look at foreclosed properties, or would we possibly go to a place that we've identified as the desert and see, like when I've driven in that area and driving in that area, I'm like, I don't know, I see a lot of parks here. But if I also know that like walking to my kid's school was super dangerous, but it looked like it was just fine, you know what I mean? So like actually walking the route from like just, like a place in the middle of that and trying to get to the park, would that be the field trip?
I don't know. Or looking at the parks that are at close proximity and just kind of getting a clue of that on the ground situation, and then thinking about, maybe to your point, looking at maybe that's not the greatest one. Maybe it's more of a technical side for staff to keep an eye on when situations occur that we can at least take into consideration as a board. Maybe it's better to go back to looking at our recreational spots in different communities and maybe looking at some of our other open space areas that we haven't been to in a while.
Yeah. Okay, great.
I guess I have a thought.
Yeah.
In terms of, I'm somebody who uses more like city parks and things of the sort than rides like down the Greenway person, and I might be interested in putting myself in the context of like active recreation, greenway, passive recreation, riparian area that isn't any recreation. I don't know what that exactly looks like. I can't say like tour the greenways because it's obviously a pretty big statement. But as somebody,
bikes.
but yeah, like somebody who doesn't take advantage of it a ton, it would be interesting to see like what like different feel of different sections of the greenway are like.
That was my
or
first
areas
thing
that
on
are
the
for
list,
movement.
actually, that I didn't even mention, is that, you know, we have a new bike section. We could bike that, and if people don't have bikes, that's pretty, I mean, Scott can get us bikes, for sure. I think he, like,
Yeah, he's a man.
he's got one.
We'll do hot dogs and do bikes.
Yeah, so just to ask, I sometimes like do it myself a lot.
Yeah, like, I mean, I kind of like that idea. I like, you know, like being from, you know, the child's eye, or you know, the mom's eye, the aunt's eye view. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, I think that'd be great, just seeing how accessible everything is too, and like, if I were trying to get from here to here and use this part of the greenway, how does it feel then to get on the, like?
Yeah, or just cross over Main, and you're
Right.
like, okay, that's why I don't do that.
Right.
Yeah, just a thought, I guess it's pretty vague, but
Yeah,
great.
I
I
mean-
came here to do like greenway planning, and I don't use greenways very often, so I feel like it could probably.
I mean, that's the, like, but
But
I
I'm like a
don't,
city park person,
but I
right?
don't use the rec center as much. So, you know, there's thing. So, yeah, that, I mean, that
You
could be
mean
cool.
like
And then,
24
so
people?
we could just kind of have a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
Like, we could actually do kind of a scavenger hunt going from just like a placed house. We could go through, we could cross some places that you'd have to cross that might be, we could then end up by needing to take the bus to the unified game and end up at the
Started the
unified
rec
game.
center.
And people can leave whenever they leave. The rec center's really accessible compared to a lot of other places, though. I mean,
And then, because we're talking about doing a rec center tour, like start out there. Do
Oh, yes.
Scott had a really good question while we're on the train of thought, which was
When?
like duration of this. Typically, this is a what you say
2 hours.
2 hours
Yeah.
before. So
Oh,
trying to fit within that time block. I'm not trying to constrict us too much with our ideas. This is just the brainstorming stage.
Yeah.
But something to keep in mind for if we're trying to plan an event around it. Scott, did you suggest one?
No,
Not yet.
Not yet. A few months ago, I couldn't remember. I have a different notebook now, but I'm always intrigued of like looking back at like CIP program, like looking at the CIP as things to look at, and to see, because you know those hopefully will be the things that we develop at some point. Is just to see where the state of them are at this point. Yeah, like you know. So I'm not saying that to go to Distal until it's
I don't think we're allowed to
a
actually.
little
right?
tough, but Alta Park is very easy to do, and you'll see how tiny
Right.
Alta is, or whatever, in this grand scheme of things, and some of the other ones. So it's interesting to put it in context when you see the giant list of all the projects over there.
So the current state of what's to come. So
Yeah,
the
what's to
current
come,
condition,
Yeah.
Um,
That's a great idea. I was thinking that with the cooling projects, just at Spangler and Kensington, Lanyon, I think, because I live in Spangler, and it's like, oh, that's my park, but it's such a pain to get to from my house. But also, like, I wonder if anybody's been trying to go there in the middle of the day. That's on, not to be, but like on crap, because it's really warm. So your kind of current state, future state, like not just with CIP, but some of the cooling
yeah,
stuff.
so
might
hopefully
be-
we all go there once it's developed, right? Like that's
Right.
the
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, but right now
See
you don't have,
the-
like, you don't have a current state of like, oh, how hot is it,
yeah,
or how
or
run down
The
and stuff.
bathroom got bombed. And
Yes,
and
exactly.
that sort of thing, yes, yeah.
Maybe we could do some of this on our own and have an incentive program to visit, like, you have a certain amount of time and you need to have visited all the parks, whoever could get like the most parks and the most recreation spots, and you go and you spend 20 minutes at least at each one, like go swing on a swing set or something like that.
Take a
I have done it.
What's
I
the
have
incentive?
I have done it. I mean, I have done it before. I have got like used the city map and gone to every single park. And I think that's probably how I got on this board is because I did that, but with my kid.
So, my city park thing is that my husband and I have made a concerted effort over 2.5 years to visit every like small city park, not community park, not neighborhood, but like something a little smaller and like checked it off the list. So it's like a fun little passport to
It
the
might
city
be a
thing.
fun. I mean, I wonder if anybody on staff can think of any cool incentives for any of us.
Bragging rights.
Yeah.
Bragging rights.
You get some more.
Bragging rights or like free passes to the
I'm a
park
park star.
or VIP seats at the 4th of July.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I like that.
Other boards, like the Art in Public Places, each board member or a couple of board members take on different art pieces to clean and to check on and to preserve. So, I mean, that might be something that people could do.
Yeah, I think it goes along with the volunteer project kind of theme. Yeah, right.
I will mention one thing, Unified, which is a really cool idea. It ends like July 10th or so. So it's done pretty early.
All unified
All of
everything?
hours. After that, for softball, you're talking about softball.
Okay, it doesn't,
We
have,
we
it
all
doesn't even
sorts
have to be
of stuff.
softball. It could be,
Well,
it
then
could
we
be
go-
a
we go
basketball
into-
game, and like if we can't make it in the summer for all of us, maybe it's a basketball game, maybe it's something, yeah.
You could go to a scope softball game too.
Yeah, that is already.
That's
Oh,
what-
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
and some
already
of them-
ends in July.
Yeah,
Oh.
we do a Special Olympics tournament usually in town. We don't do a Special Olympics tournament, but we certainly do multiple different sports. We do bowling every Thursday afternoon on a year-round basis, which is a lot of folks there, about 20 or so in that group. And they love people cheering them on. That's another. Just there are lots of opportunities.
Yeah.
The softball does kind of.
Is there
Wrap
a
up.
summer party? Like, are they doing like one of the one-off events this
I'm
summer?
sure there are.
Okay, because we
Good
can
times
always
on
go
that.
to that too and volunteer.
There's a party every month.
Oh, perfect.
There's an event every month. So she has movie night. What else does she do? She has something every
So
month.
much stuff. I can put the website.
Great.
I mean, yeah.
You have your direction.
So let's go through what I have here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, see if yours is-
And I'm starting to connect some of them because they're similar themes and trying to put them together. So I have up at the top a snowshoe, and that's I think that's reasonable. I mean, it's an idea that we can vote on and decide if we want to do that. We've talked about it for a couple of years now, and yes, like it goes against the traditional like summer field trip that we've done historically, but we make the rules. We get to decide if we want to go. And if you want to wait until December, you can do it. Second is recreation facilities, challenge we have at specific facilities, and then I'm also lumping in what can we learn from non-Longmont facilities that I think's been brought up. Does that make sense to connect those two? Then I have, for 3 was Union Reservoir Trail connections. We talked about that one, right? Another really good one. Then I have volunteer project. Do we see that as distinct from the unified ballgame concept?
I mean, I think there's several different ways we could go. We could do one of the post volunteer projects that's going on because they're awesome.
Yeah.
They're super fun to do. And if you haven't done it, you probably should. I know we spend a lot of our volunteer time here, but so we could do that, and or like the unified thing.
Okay, so it could be just like another unrelated volunteer project.
Yeah, that we all go as a group and
Yeah.
commit to seed sorting or whatever the heck we're gonna do, you know?
Seed sorting, is that one?
Mhm.
Seed sorting
I know.
is super fun, and that's
Yeah.
a good winter
Sounds
one,
fun.
actually. It's
Okay.
super fun.
I
Yeah.
think that might be, I don't want to put like a little different than the field trip too. Like, I don't know that those two things have to be
Yeah, there's some volunteer and other opportunities.
Yeah,
versus a
field trip, like just to kind of.
I see.
I think there might be a distinction there in terms of like, oh, we're trying to do a couple hour field trip, go see some rec facilities or parks, love it. Maybe we do it before we all go do a volunteer activity, but I don't want to like say one eats away at the other necessarily.
Okay.
But that's,
I mean, it could just be one though. I mean, you could just do, because you learn a lot as
Yeah.
a big function of like Parks and Rec is like the volunteer service and stuff. So, and you learn about the site.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay, so I'm not done yet. There's more. Because everybody's efficient at coming up with ideas. So then there was the recreational deserts, not desserts. I always get the two spelled mistaken.
Me too.
And then I have as part of this, like considering the potential opportunity for, I think what I'm going to call foreclosed properties. We're not going to necessarily visit meth houses,
I
right?
had that on my list.
I did. I literally wrote it down.
And that's all we meant. I know that's what we meant.
Radar, I think like with public safety, we should keep it, a list. I
We
mean,
could make houses in them.
What? No, that's not. That's a different
That's
board.
not what we're
It's
doing.
a different
That's a
board.
you know
different
you're on
board.
camera, right?
Yeah, but if the camera can't tell, I'm joking.
Yeah, sarcasm doesn't read well in transcripts.
Yeah.
Then we have the Greenway Bike Tour. Was one, and then I have looked into that. Maybe it's not right. Scavenger hunt. Maybe that's not the right grouping.
Well, we could make any of this a lot more fun because I'm a recreational professional, so it all can be gamified. We don't have to like sit and be bored or like listen to somebody talk to us. We can actually do hands-on learning at any one of these
This
things.
might be
And
the
scavenger
trick.
hunt.
This might be the trick right here to get people to go. If we were to go and do the scavenger hunt and figure it out, or help create the scavenger hunt around town associated with our parks, and we visit the parks, and then put it out there for members of the community to film themselves visiting the parks, and it would be something we could put on there about how they maybe they answer a question about it, or they do some sort of thing there. People are like, oh, why are those people dancing that dance there? That sort of thing, you know what I'm saying? And they have to film themselves, but it would show people, it would be something that somebody could do for 3 months of the summer to get this done. It might be not this summer, but it could be like next summer where we've figured out some of these things, and once you've done that, you get some sort of prize, like like a pass or some sort of
Yeah, you
thing.
get to go to Sunset Pool or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you all ever heard of geocaching?
That's
Yeah.
the sort of-
Yeah, we should
Yeah, that's the
just
sort of
put
thing.
little
We could-
Easter
we could
eggs
have
of
some
like,
yeah,
like a free entrance to Sunset Pool in one of them.
I think we just keep
What are the
it.
ordinances on leaving things around? Yeah.
Well, keep it
Remember,
keep it
QR
When Jeff's not here, that's what you get.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think
QR codes where-
digital Easter eggs are probably a
Yeah.
whole lot easier to manage.
you know,
than
the
not
downtown
having-
does that little like go to each stores and do a
Right.
stamp thing or whatever, like a pat.
Yeah, a passport, that's what I had.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cute.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
It might not actually be with this, but I was, like, the scavenger hunt was more about how to make, looking at the desert, the recreational desert, like, how to make that not stultifying. And, yeah, like, so, we start someplace, we have to pass by something, we have to go like that, and you're like a kid trying to get to the park. And we've got to get a park with swings, because we want to swing, right?
How do we do it? You have to walk 9 miles.
Yeah, maybe we have to walk 9
Right.
miles, and like we all
Not
bring, the transport of choice.
Okay.
It's an under 14 transport.
Okay. So the scavenger hunt is one. The passport was kind of a different spin-off of that, right?
Yes,
That's what I
that's
heard.
also passport. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and we could do it, but we can't do it for the summer.
Yeah.
No, you
Yeah.
have to be done ahead of time, and you can't throw staff into it or anybody else in that,
Well-
but if you did it over the course of this summer, and then had it.
And I think, I'm sorry, this is totally, I just like that idea, it looks like others did too, but maybe next year as we, or even the end of this year, maybe have this group start going and do some promotional pieces of us, this group doing selfies there and start kicking it off to this is what we can look
So-
forward to next year.
I mean,
created
on that,
our
my
passport.
son
Yeah.
did,
Yeah.
and that's how
That's
he
our
got
volunteering.
his Sister Cities scholarship, is he did a scavenger hunt of the historic sites of City of Longmont. And it's out there somewhere where you can, all the like real historic sites, like this is where the first building was, nothing's here right now, but you know, like that kind of stuff. And so it is doable by a 13-year-old with time and a mom who drives. Yeah, so it
That's-
like
that's
could happen,
The
but
second
none of us
part's
have
the
that.
critical point.
But we, you know, but maybe something that we tap into some youth to help us with.
Yeah.
The last one was CIP program on the ground, which is the current state of what's to come, is what I have in my notes, which I think makes sense, but yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big list of potentials that we've all talked about. Maybe what we can just quickly do is go down the line. And there's no, we'll probably have to talk about dates and more in likely asynchronously. Usually do dates. I think it's typically easier for people to check calendars asynchronously. But top two, no pressure. And if you're doing me to go through the list again, I can. Top two. Hannah, because you looked at me and you're going,
Oh no, I was like, neither one of them was even going to be mine, I don't think. So I like the CIP current state. I'm a CIP kind of person, and I like the idea of the volunteer, like get us out in the community, get us working with kids or people or whomever, and not just be at a park or a facility. But I think there's possibility of blending those things. We're like, oh, we take a little thing and then we go end up at the baseball game, right? But I like the volunteer idea. Activated, hands-on experience.
great, thank you. I'm Randy.
Me,
Yeah,
okay.
it is.
I think volunteering or the Greenway.
Any preference between those two, or just split down the?
You said
Use top two.
No.
I
You didn't ask for ranking.
You didn't ask for
I'm
ranking.
changing the rules.
I didn't
All right.
rank, okay.
All right.
well, yeah, two's good.
Yeah.
Two's good, and then
Well,
then
We'll
this
have
Water.
some
and then
tops
we
ones.
either whittle it down. Or,
I'm sorry, and the second one was I already lost my train of thought. The volunteer project, and the second one was
Greenway.
Greenway. Okay, cool. Okay, thank you. All right. Aaron.
I like those two. I say volunteering and let's do Greenway.
Wow.
Yeah, I was between that and go to another person's park, another place's park, which Cave Park in Boulder. As long as it's Cave Park in Boulder, that's going to change my vote. You ever been to Cave Park? Cave Park's awesome, and
Which
we
was
should
that?
have one here. It has another name, and they don't call it Cave Park because the people in that neighborhood like to keep it on the DL. It is the most amazing place to go on a hot summer day. They have a man-made cave that you crawl through. So
Cool.
Cave Park.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one idea that brings together the different ideas.
Oh,
Yes.
And one part to rule them all.
We're all like Lord of the Rings.
Three things together, three things I wanted to do. I think we should try to do something on the Greenway that heads over to Union, goes in the new Greenway segment, talks about the Union master planning kind of that exists out there. There's new trails, there's eventually going to be big changes to Union. Union is a citywide asset, which I like, not a neighborhood park.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could do some volunteer cleanup at Union. Or if there's something useful to staff, I guess I would say. Not to create a volunteering for no purpose, but something useful that we could all contribute to. We could tow away derelict sailboats.
I mean,
That's good bike there.
I could quick check and see what Taylor and Ashley already have on that.
Yeah, I have
docket.
it, yeah.
Because like if they already have something on the dock, it would be nice to not give them any more work.
That's what I mean. Not create a task for them, that's the goal. So that's my vote.
Okay.
Or just Greenway / volunteering is fine.
No, you go.
Sean, you don't get
I don't have an opinion because I could be called away because it would maybe would not match up. So
Not
I'll
that we
do
say,
whatever.
I want to hear your opinion, please.
I already told you. what my-
Okay.
I'm an idea man. I did.
That's what your preference is, the recreational deserts?
I think what we
Okay.
need to do is actually go and look at Union. Union is probably, with the changes that are happening there, we probably need to have a better understanding of the Union.
Okay.
We need to make it that.
There's gonna be a, well, that'll be, if we don't talk about Union and actually get there, then somebody will have some sort of aspect of, or issue that we have to deal with Union, or we'll all be like, oh, damn, now I have to go out there. And when I could have, I had time to go out in the summer.
Okay. Got it. Thank you for your opinion. Appreciate it. Scott?
Well, I guess I'm swayed by more of the group than say Greenway, although I'm a high-level Greenway user, but,
Yeah, you're a pro.
I'm happy to do that. I think if I've gone to a second vote, is learning more about those other places that don't have parks and have, these desert areas of like, what are city-owned places but we don't have something here that we could leverage to make work.
Okay.
It's tough. My third would be a recreational space too, but you only said two, so.
Create constraints are the mother of creativity. I think that's a thing people say. Okay, this was a great discussion. I think
Well, I
we
have
should.
one more adjustment, sorry.
Oh, gosh.
I have an even better idea.
Okay.
Why don't we start the Greenway ride at Nino Gallo and the Sisters property, which is an underserved part of the city that's being improved right now, and is near the Greenway and the rec center, and could start from there to go up to Union.
Kind of a long bike ride.
It's a long bike ride for most people.
Yeah, I think
That's
that's, I
true.
mean,
Sorry,
I'm not,
I'm also a high throughput Greenway user.
yeah, I mean, but yeah,
forget.
it's a, I mean, that's a
Roosevelt
7
area.
mile,
Yeah,
that's a long time. I
Seems
mean,
sounds more better.
for a 2-hour
okay.
thing, it would be a long time.
It's a gentle no.
No, I like, no, I do like that
A little bit of
idea.
rejection.
I do like that idea.
Okay. This was great. I definitely see some trends towards specific areas.
Did you?
I did not share mine. I'm gonna.
Let's hear it. You can.
I think
you
I
should.
was partial to my idea as
I'm
I
tallying
you
I don't
were,
even
so-
remember your idea
So
right now.
yeah,
So, no, like I don't really remember whose was what.
the
so-
recreation facilities area, just because that's an area that we have not invested as much time as I would like to.
But Union's
Okay.
a recreational facility.
But I could make that into a scavenger hunt. I'm just telling you, because it'd be just a lot more fun if we went there and had to do, like, find something in all those places. I can do
Yeah.
that, make it into a scavenger hunt. And we could just go to the rec center, see what's happening, and then go eat some hot dogs at some unified.
As maybe an optional after activity, if it works out that way. I don't know. And then my second would be the volunteer project in Mossad. Interested in that. Obviously, we can do volunteering on our own time, but I still like the idea of the camaraderie of this group doing that together. Okay, so there's a lot of ideas there. We're not going to finalize one idea, today, but I think
We could maybe come up with some, how this might look, and send out some stuff, and then you all can maybe,
That'd be great.
we can do a survey maybe, and see what we do, see, here's what we can do with the resources we have and the time we have. 2 hours though,
I think we should 2.5.
2.5?
is probably the fit,
Good.
right?
2.5 hours, and kind of flesh some of these out and say, here's what.
Yeah, we can work on some stuff from our end.
Do you have a time frame in mind? When you say
Time-
some? Like not for the, so like July, August?
That's what I was going to say next to this group, and
Okay.
it'd help us if you wanted to, if we're going to do snowshoeing, or if we're going to do.
Well, snowshoeing didn't get any votes.
No, it did not.
That doesn't mean we don't want to do it.
So everything
It
else
just
could
wasn't the
be-
focus area.
I just-
Yeah, I
going
think
back
we're
to
on
the
the
uni-
summer
Yeah,
ideas.
the summer
right?
ideas, and July, what's this group on? I mean, throw it up to us again,
We'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen.
We could go on July 31st and do Weed Warriors, Harry Willow, Herb Wipeout.
Oh, that's a volunteer thing? Thursday morning is not ideal work-wise, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, so,
it's
we can work with Ashley, and we don't want more work either, but
Yeah.
if it serves a benefit for the community and is not just making volunteers volunteer more,
Yeah.
we can make something happen too.
Here's what I'd say. So we have the June 3rd city council meeting, right? And then staff is going to be focusing mainly on diesel toll. So if we could try to get some alignment and maybe send out over email before then, that would be ideal. That way we can have that discussion in that next meeting.
Do you want us to kind of wrap it into potential July, August dates, or what?
I think that would seem like the right time frame for this group.
Yeah.
We'll probably discuss it in July's meeting, because June meetings.
June meetings are gonna be rather.
yeah, I would say August, September.
Yeah,
Okay, well, there's a little, yeah.
All right, that sounds
Or-
reasonable.
Fewer people on vacation, school season, your child will be older.
Yeah, I was wondering when
You
you
don't used to-
And
planning
actually,
the baby.
yeah.
It'll take those months.
He's come with me for the
I
ride.
personally get crazy in September,
Yeah.
personally, but, yeah. It's okay. Not on Tuesday nights, so, or
Okay.
Monday nights, whatever the night this is, I don't even know.
All right, August, September, Monday nights kind of work around that?
It seems like we're
Yeah, I
short.
think July's not, it's gonna be too soon for us to coordinate with the just toll coming out.
Okay, this was great. Let's move on in the agenda. We're at 8 p.m., but we have time. Let's go into items from the packet. Who wants to call out items from the packet they want to talk about? Look at chime me now. No?
Wow.
Scott's always got one bag. Yeah.
So generally, Isaac Walton, there's a lot of questions people are asking us at Bicycle Longmont of the trucks in construction. Is that, that's like on the south side of the creek, is that part of the pre-construction part for Isaac Walton? Because people are saying condos, people are saying another ball field, like the list is like endless. I'm like, no. It's supposed to be over for like, they're just.
They're
not
doing
like-
some tree work that they need to do, removing
Okay.
some trees.
All right, yeah, because it just.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But they don't anticipate needing to close, they're not gonna close until after spring runoff, that trail section. So
Right.
that'll be, once we, like we said, June.
Okay, and are they doing some of the creek part on like?
They have to
like,
wait till that spring runoff.
West of Sunset then?
They're in design on that.
Okay,
So the Hover Reach west of Sunset,
yeah,
it's in the design phase, so.
okay, all right. So, okay.
Not secretly building a ball field for me?
Yeah, I love when people on social media just say, go like, well, I heard. And then there's like 35 people who are like, well, it better be this type of ball field or whatever. You're like, no,
There's no ball field.
no, it's not a ball field. Yeah.
Delete the first comment.
Yeah, right, so,
I have a little question about something that's been going on for months, and I just keep wondering where it is. Where's the free firewood, besides the tree limb diversion center, but where's the free firewood from the fire mitigation project? Where do you actually go to get that?
The only one I'm aware of is our Button Rock
Yeah, that's what I'm
project.
talking about, yeah.
It's usually up at the parking lot. I can check with Price on when that is, but yeah, we just do it right at the parking lot
Okay.
at Button Rock.
I didn't know it was at the parking lot at Button Rock.
And I'm going to check on that to make sure, but
Is that parking lot still at
it's
minimum
still,
capacity?
it's,
Okay.
it was, this weekend it got really busy, so it was a challenge where people decided to just move cones and move things to make their own parking spaces, so people did have some tickets this weekend. But the contractors are moving fairly quickly. However, this project could be going on until like 26. There is a potential to move their staging area, but as the season gets busier, more people, there will probably be more of a conflict, but it is still in their parking right now.
Who backs up our park rangers in the event? Is it Boulder County that's right there? Or
At the Button Rock? Yeah, so it's Boulder County is really the closest one, and we do have much better communications now, so they were on actually Boulder county channels up there, pagers, because this can get out any other way. But we have better communications now, and PD is good. And again, as far as backing up, most of the ranges are pretty good at common sense that say, you know, we're not going to put ourselves in a situation where we need that, but SO is the ones that really will be up there to help them out.
Right.
Or CPW if it's wildlife related.
Right.
Any others from the board? I had one, and you can always count on me to pick out like the things related to dogs. I'm a dog person. Dog park number 1 updates. Specifically the last sentence saying a public survey will be conducted to get feedback about the design. I'm just curious about the public survey process because I'm thinking I have the last survey in mind was the recreation facility proposal, which there were some challenges with. So I'm just kind of curious, what is the...
It's blasting tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Let me look up it's from our communications team is sending it out. And let's see what it says here. I think it was like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. But it's going out through many means to get a wide net, as well as the QR code will be posted at the dog
That's
park.
what I was going to ask you. Yep.
And then there's also a Facebook group called Longmont Dog Park 1. It's also going on that.
Okay.
Just to kind of, there's not a Longmont Dog Park 2 Facebook group. If there was, it would also go on that one. We just happened to stumble upon this, like, well, that's a great audience. So just every way that we can, but it's all electronic.
Yeah.
That way people that are using the park can do it, or you see it in whatever means
Scan
of
it,
communication
like,
coming out from the city. So it'll be tomorrow morning.
Okay.
But is it going to like every city resident or all city residents that are in the area of Dog Park 1?
It's not by mailer, it's all electronic.
That's what I mean.
So communications pushes out like different means, like on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
I can't recall, and that's why I wanted to find his email, and I'm not seeing it right away, but all the ways they used to blast, like news releases,
Okay.
those kinds of things, we're trying to cast a really wide net.
Okay, thank you for that update.
Yep.
Also a good place to go if you don't want to Humane Society.
That's good. Good to know. And actually, Trish is the project manager on Dog Park 1, and she volunteers there, so
Nice.
I'll mention that.
Yeah.
She goes every Wednesday.
Cute idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Sam had your hand raised.
Yeah, one thing I thought I was going to ask about, I forgot. I feel like the St. Rain Greenway Phase 12, which is the west end, has fallen off the reporting. Remember last year we talked about like completing Golden Pond's property acquisitions or the signatures going on. Then there were some design discussions. Like where is that? I know the county's involved in the parts of that. I think it's not in the update.
So I can go with Danielle, but the big piece, Stephanie and her team have to do all our work to get all the property acquisitions and dedications put in place to do that.
Yeah.
The big thing, and I heard it mentioned a couple times, it's all about the money. Phase 13 just continue to get more expensive, especially with some of the changes to the our ability to use the creek underpass and have to put an underpass in. So because it's all same frame projects, those $12 were pulled and moved into 13 at this point. So still a priority for us, but it's going to be a funding issue at this point.
Okay. And the county's work on their part of it, which is the airport to Pella part,
Yes.
is that also?
They're still, I think, still moving on that, which is one of the reasons we would like to continue to try to find. I mean, it's, you know, we've all waited a long time for that connection, driving the Golden Spike out there at some point to make those two hook up. So it's a different priority. So
Driving the Golden Spike.
I've been lining
Or you
those
have
up.
to do that now. There has to be a.
Yeah.
How about a golden spoke?
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
There's also some ways we're looking at right now to try to mitigate some of those costs as well too. So it might be a little bit different, but Danielle can give an update on that.
Great. Items from staff. And look at you, Stephanie, because you always have something.
I don't have any.
Oh no!
Oh wow.
It's been raining a lot. There hasn't been a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so Nino was like a muddy pit last week, and then they've been doing a lot of work to get all the earth back in the park. There was a lot of rain last week, so I think that our water quality environmental people have been running around the city like crazy looking at sediment going places and whatnot, so that's been busy. The Fox Meadows grand opening is on Saturday from 10 to noon, as well as the art dedication. Dog Park 1 surveys tomorrow. Roosevelt Park Playground Adult Fitness, that design just kicked off last week. Tatiana's the project manager on that. We're gonna be hiring two project managers. We're at 50% right now, so that's out there too.
I actually think I might be able to make it a little late to the Fox Meadows. We have coffee with council, but they moved it to, was before, it looked like it was at 10 to 11, but now I think they moved it to 9 to 10. So it normally goes a half an hour or so over, but maybe.
Yeah, you should if you can.
Yeah, I appreciate being the last. That was a very nice Thompson.
So yeah, so for now, we've reorganized all the work that's under contract and assigned that to the two project managers we have. Anything that's out there that's waiting to start up, we're waiting to onboard to continue those forward. So there's a lot of work to be done.
Great. My update is because I didn't want to be the party pooper, talk about union the whole time. But our water group and the Union Reservoir Company have been doing work on Spring Gulch and the access into Union Reservoir. So we have not been able to bring any water into that system yet. And as this season goes on and water gets less and less, the likelihood of us getting the water that people are used to out there is getting less and less. The other piece is, even when we start getting to the point where we potentially are a priority and there's water for us to take, we have obligations to the river, so we may be letting water in and we're probably letting water out at the same time. So you all may be hearing about it, and there'll probably be some more updates here shortly about what we're looking to do, because one of the things that we're still working with Harold on a little bit is the fact that the water's so far out, the water is past where we've taken sand in for the swim beach. So now if people want to get in the water, they're out into old riprap and glass bottles and stuff from the old hunt clubs and stuff. So it's really not a very conducive environment to that right now. So
Okay, that's good to know.
so yes, there may be some calls. We've had a couple of people ask for refunds. Not for you though, right?
Is that boaters mostly?
So far, it hasn't been that many because paddleboarders are actually really still enjoying it. The dog beat people, so we'll see. It's one of those unknowns that it brings up because it allows for more access for our paddleboarders getting to the water. Once they're in the water, they still have a lot of body of water out there. It's really the swim beach is probably the thing that's going to have
Okay.
people.
Has that happened in the
concerned.
past?
I'm sure at some points it has, but not in my time here. That
Since I remember.
So what do you credit that to? Just
It really was
the market
timing on, it
shares?
was timing on the project for the inlet was the big piece of it. However, talking to the Water Resources Group, it still really was just the amount of water that was in the river this year, and typically you get what's called free river water at certain times where, there's not a farm calling for stuff, but a lot of the reservoirs were low, so Highland Ditch Company, which is takes water off the river up in Lyons and has it out east to a lot of the reservoirs, they started filling everything, and Highland has the ability to basically sweep the whole river if they so desire. So their timing of this project plus how low reservoirs were really the big piece with this.
What's the project? I'm not following that.
It's actually the Spring Gulch inlet to Union Reservoir has been leaking, and actually they just kind of eroded around those pieces. It's just at least probably a 50, 75-year-old head gate there that needed to be repaired. And by the time the reservoir company is able to get in there, get to it, it prohibited us from taking the water that we would have had earlier on in the year.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's that whole section on the west end of the university.
Yes, yeah.
Cuts across like the.
You have that agricultural field, and
Yeah.
where you'll see, you've probably seen a bunch of trucks over there. There's a bunch of temporary construction roads and staging facilities in there too, off County Line Road.
Mhm.
So we don't know. I'd love to say, Union Reservoir Company has said that they'll probably have everything's done and have the ability to get water into it starting in July or August. But again, that just means that we may be having to take the same amount out to meet our other obligations.
Tell Boulder guys the crowds are coming.
Yeah.
Oh, Macintosh Lake.
Yeah, well, that's what rangers have been pretty concerned about too, because it gets so busy anyways. But, yeah, so it probably will be people looking for beach type areas, but Macintosh doesn't really allow body contact, so that doesn't really meet that need either.
Might be a public service to have a sign up for, hey, looking for a place to to swim. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't know about like Boyd Lake State Park and all the, you know what I mean? People don't know about those, and they're great places, you know? But
Come back
like,
for the fireworks.
yeah, you know, but like, I mean, it's not so much leave Longmont, but when people come and when people are angry, like when I worked at Rocky, and when people were angry because because we, instead of telling them you can't have your dog here, I said, oh, you wanted to go to here. You know, having an alternative makes people less frustrated. So,
Right, not here, but here's where you can go.
here's where you can go, or are you looking for sand for your kid? Or like, right?
We have a.
Yeah, that just
Okay,
seems, I was gonna say,
We tell
that's the same
them all
thing.
the
I
time
think
where where else.
the best-
Okay, great.
best
That's awesome.
inoculation to this sort of problem is to recognize we're not gonna be everything to everybody, but once they get out somewhere, and in our messaging somewhere, either on, on our website, explaining what's happening, so it's not like, hey, we're not taking ownership for this, but the reality is this. But there are some alternatives in the surrounding area, and then that's the sort of thing when they're having a problem and they have an inlet sort of situation just like this down the line there, they go, well, you know what, Longmont was pretty cool about suggesting people come to us, which was a moneymaker for, Carter Lake or whatever, and that sort of thing, and that's the reciprocal aspect, I think, that would have a more positive approach.
This is about me, but where my mind goes is revenue,
Yeah.
which is going to be
That's
your
where I
money.
was-
Well, that's
Yeah,
mine too,
that's-
that's why I
Okay,
don't wanna,
yeah.
it'd be better to not have a foul taste in the people that are gonna be coming, so that next year, when this is fixed, they don't go, oh, I don't wanna go there.
Right.
You could have a sandcastle building contest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With sand and mud.
Adobe, that's Adobe.
Yeah.
Or no, that's cement, right, sand and mud. I can't remember. One of those building products.
You know more about this than I do, so I'll take your word for it. Any other items from the staff that could maybe like make us less depressed about reservoir? That's fine. It's fine.
No, I'm
Okay, all right.
I'm good.
Okay.
4th of July is gonna be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any items from the board?
Well, I just want.
Scott. Oh, please.
Go, no, please, Scott.
Oh, okay. So we put this, or some folks have put this in several times under service tickets, but there's a broad problem with underpass lighting. Definitely left-hand greenway, I don't think there's a light that works under any underpasses. In most underpasses on the St. Frank Greenway and Dry Creek, there are no lights. And so it's a big problem because I'm not saying one person's doing this in multiple places, but there are some large rocks that get put into the path, and they make it really dangerous for runners and cyclists who hit the dark spot, and someone's putting some big rocks.
I appreciate you telling that, because I had not seen or heard that
Okay.
here recently.
Okay.
We started putting some additional lighting in to try making it less of a place to sleep.
Yeah.
And those lights are being broken or actually just spray painted over too. So I don't know
Yeah.
if this is a piece of that or if it's just that we don't have sufficient lighting.
It just looks like the lights aren't on in any sort, like they're lenses, but they're just, the lights aren't on at all. So, whether you're going under Main Street or, there's tons of locations that the lights aren't there. So someone comes around in a bright spot and then it's all of a sudden super dark.
Are you talking about during the day or at night?
During the day. I don't ride, the Greenway is officially closed at night, so, but yeah, during the day, those underpasses are pitch black, and
Yeah,
you
they're.
don't know what's there in the
Yes,
chamber
but,
light.
yeah. So for you and your group, because you said the greenways are officially closed, is one of the things that has been a change, because people were using them at night, so the greenway is actually
You can
open,
pass
you'd be
through.
moving through, so as long as
Yeah.
you're,
Yeah, we just,
So
we
people-
just tell
yeah.
people that, the
Thank you.
rule that we like to say is that just don't go.
Yeah.
At night, it's easier.
we did want some people for failure if they were trying to do the right thing and decide to walk from you know,
Right,
a
right,
place
yeah, yeah.
of drinking home as opposed to getting in a car and driving. As long as you're moving through the waste system at night, that's fine.
Or using it as transportation.
As
I mean, you still,
transportation.
you still have to get home from work.
Yeah.
or go
It's like it's
someplace.
moving, so that was what we did. We basically changed it to that it's closed except for if you're continually moving
Yes,
through.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that they were dark too. I thought they were supposed to be dark during the day. So they've been dark during the day, the one under Main Street, for a long time.
Okay.
And I don't think it's spray painted over that much.
Okay.
Yeah. And the one, like by left hand, that doesn't come on either, and it doesn't get any damage ever. Like, that's like bougie. And it doesn't come on during the day though.
The one by.
Left-hand park, left-hand
Okay.
park.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it doesn't come on. I mean, there's some really cool spiders there, but that's about it. It's at night that it comes on more, like lately.
Okay. If it's been long, I'll check on that and see if there's something that's just been timed off during the day because they assume it doesn't do any
Right?
good, but it does. It's a dramatic change in that, and your eyes just can't adjust fast enough.
Right, yeah, yeah. People have complained that they've run into people or this rock issue, which we took a whole bunch of rocks out in 200 or 300 passes on Sunday. We found them.
I found a lot
I
of
mean, they're
too.
really big. They're like this big. Like someone had to spend some serious effort.
Right.
To,
Some of
it's
the
weird.
some of the ones are, like the one at Left Hand Creek, it's not as dark. For some reason, the way it's angled, it gets
Right.
more light. But like the one under Main Street, like the one, that one's super dark. Usually somebody's sleeping there,
Right.
or they left, what they and have to compliment the technician that's out there. He's been really working
Great.
hard at keeping that clean,
Thank you.
and also removing human waste. Saw that one time,
Yeah.
and I was like, thank you for doing that. Yeah.
Ugh. Other items.
I was just going to remind people that last week was Staff Appreciation Day, week for city staff. Thursday, we had breakfast for them, and I just wanted to thank all of you city staff folks for all the hard work you do all the time.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Here.
Yeah. I mean, we're saying thank you. We really should be buying you a beer.
Right. That's talk is cheap. Right?
The talk is cheap. That's really good.
That's one thing the council can't do. We can do that.
Right, yeah, we can purchase alcohol for
That's
that,
right.
yeah. Okay. Great,
That's it.
thank you. With that, any other items on the board? We have some more time, we can just sit here and just chat. If not, we can enjoy.
Did we decide what we're gonna do for a field trip?
We'll package them up, kind of rank them, give some dates and times.
Okay.
Go with Mondays in August, September for 2.5 hours, and then we'll see what we kind of put some of these things together for you. and
Okay.
Get them out there.
So you guys are gonna
Yeah.
do work on
We're
that.
gonna do it
Okay.
before.
Because I just thought
And we'll be for, yes.
you should just do it now.
Could you?
Maybe.
I don't know.
But if you have like information that you're gonna wanna impart to us and you want me to gamify it, I'll make it fun.
Okay.
Just let me know the information, like what chunks, yeah. Make it more fun. I mean, I'm a
Like that.
teacher,
Yeah,
like that's what I do. My students can't listen to me talk for more than 30 seconds.
Ben, I have a good question for you. Like, is there a fee for shelter rentals at parks? Right. Okay. Yeah. Thompson Park must be killing it because, I mean, there's only 2 shelters really, but like, there was probably 6 birthdays out there on Saturday, and we were
Well,
like,
there's only one that had a permit. And
No.
that's fine.
You're
you
right,
know,
though.
for first-
Yeah.
for first-
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you have permit, you get the ability to move in, but people can just take them.
We have a few that we
the
do
other-
2 times a day, but those are not very many because trying to get more
One out,
guys out there
yeah.
to clean,
Yeah.
or folks out there to clean
Right.
is really a challenge. But yeah, it's generally 1 a day.
Yeah, Friday was like, I think, Shakespeare in the Park with the school
yeah,
district.
and they bust
Unfortunately,
people in.
what's that? They bus people in, but we don't require them to get a use of public places permit, try to reduce bureaucracy for them, but then we don't know they're there,
Yeah.
so the sprinklers went off.
Oh, right. Oh, they had a great time though. I love it.
That's such a fun.
The kids.
And that's such a fun day anyway, though. Like I said, the Shakespeare in the Park Day is
It
awesome.
was amazing. I walked through it, checked everything, get back in, like, can you turn the sprinklers off? I'm like,
I was just there.
I was just there.
Yeah. So it's something.
I do a sleepover with Casa de la Esperanza. We did like last year. We have a little kid sleepover because we're trying to like teach people how to camp. And finally got the last kid to go to, like, little kid, never been away from home, and home is like right there, you know. It's like at 2:30 in the morning. At 3:30 a.m., all the sprinklers go on. And they're hitting all the tents. And just like, it's great. Yep.
All right.
Classic.
Well, I think we can move to adjournment. If anyone wants to,
I'll move to adjourn.
yeah. Is there a second?
A second.
Aaron seconded. Okay, all those in favor? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you for